He is here.
Okay, well, in the interest of
We'll put it up there.
moving forward, I'm sorry.
We'll be right up.
Okay, let's call the meeting to order.
So be it.
Okay, so the board took no action in closed session. And let's do pledge of allegiance. Yes.
Everybody standing up? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You always add the other. Okay. Now, before we adopt the agenda, there is one correction that we need to make in the consent item, section 7.2. There is a new supervisor, Monica Gallardo, and it says that she's being removed on February 8th, but actually she's being assigned. So with that small change. Oh, yeah, and there's also a correction to action item B2. We need to remove P10 from the attachment A. P10. With those corrections, do I have a motion to adopt the agenda? Second. A motion and a second to adopt the agenda. All in favor?
Yes.
Aye.
Yes.
All opposed?
Oh, there it is.
There it is.
We have some acknowledgements and ask President of the Board if you can come forward with me, maybe in the front. Last meeting, we recognized our administrators who were nominated for our Administrators School Association, AXA, for our regional nominations, and we forgot to mention one person. And so I'd like to just make sure that Beatriz Chaitis was nominated in the fall. When she was in this position, she was nominated for the 2016 Director of Pupil Personnel Services for AXA Region 10. And for your service and commitment to our district, staff, and our students. So we wanted to recognize you tonight. Sorry about the omission. These are 3 awards we're giving out to teachers. And so when we call your names, well, why don't we call all 3, and then Stephen will read what it says.
Okay. Amanda Reeves.
Amanda here tonight? Amanda?
Mary Elizabeth James.
Yay.
And Marlo Sharp for being recognized on the Teacher Honor Roll in the Salinas, California newspaper for their outstanding contributions to the students and families of our district. Thank you so much.
I don't think there's anything greater than opening have the newspaper that Lydia puts on my desk when I walk in to see pictures of our teachers or our staff being recognized for the great things that they do. They do not get enough recognition, and so I want to tell you, when you know that teachers are doing good things or a custodian's done something great that may not be known about, maybe just something out in the community, please let us know. But also, the Californian has been, I think, very gracious in publicizing Salinas City, and we're so proud of our teachers who are being honored. So thank you again. Thank you.
The board want to acknowledge anybody? So employee organizations, please.
Good evening, board and superintendent. It must be a slow month because I don't know what's going on right now. Maybe it's because it's been 2 weeks. I think all in all, teachers are starting to gear up for our report cards and end of the trimester testing and parent-teacher conferences. So I think we're getting very focused on those kinds of things at this time. But that's my only thing to report tonight. Thanks.
Okay, I'm the SCESD chapter president. All I have to say is save the date, and that's for May 21st, 2016, for the annual classified awards and dinner dance at the Sprinkles Hall at 6 o'clock. So it's just a reminder to update your calendars, and hopefully you can make it to school board. Thank you.
One more time,
Yes.
time and date.
The time was at Sprinkles, the date is May 21st, and it starts at 6 o'clock at the Sprinkles Hall. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone from the substitute teachers?
Okay, let's see. Well, I completed, I know last meeting I talked to you about doing an hour check-in meeting with our principals around their mid-year goals. And so I completed that on the week after our last board meeting. Also, on that week on a Friday, there was a leadership group that participated in PBIS, which is a positive behavioral instructional supports leadership meeting, and doing a district capacity assessment around that work. So we're very, very enthusiastic about where we need to be. And but it was a great process and really gives us a great indicator of the work that we need to continue to work towards and set some goals for next year. Also, on that same Friday in the evening, I was had a great time at the secretary's dinner. And I have to say that Salina City Elementary School District had probably the greatest participation at this event. It's sponsored by AXA. They provide this for our classified staff, and so it wasn't just for secretaries. I saw health clerks there and clerk typists and just a whole bunch of people, but we had a grand time, and it was really a wonderful way to build team among and with our classified staff. Last week on Tuesday, this is an outside commitment, I was able to provide the salads. We provide the Rotary that I belong to, Santa Lucia, provides meals over the course of the winter to the warming shelter. And so I provided the salads and got to serve the salads to the homeless folks, and then we had about 65 folks there who were spending the night, and that was quite an experience and a wonderful heartwarming experience to go to the old armory and participate and to be able to give back in my own way. We also met with Monterey County Office of Ed staff around looking at a new tool which we think is going to be highly beneficial for us, and it's called the Data Almanac, and it looks at staffing needs, it looks at student academic achievement data, it looks at attendance data, it looks at a multitude of sources of data out there that will be really, I think, helpful for us as we put together reports for our board, and certainly to help us in our decision-making process. So that was a tool that was introduced to us. In the afternoon, we met as a team, and it was really great to have the business department join with the Ed Services Department and really look at our local control accountability plan, aka LCAP, and start to really tease that apart, see where we are in the mid-year, see what we need to, what metrics are guiding our way, and then maybe what adjustments need to be made to our plan. We also had a site administrators meeting last Monday, and so for those of you that don't know, this year we changed our schedule, and our site administrator meetings, which mean site administrators are principals and our vice principals, but then the district leadership also comes to that meeting. We meet on Thursdays, and we meet on the day that is designated for SETC. So that's the day that is available for the site administrators. It's a Thursday, minimum day, when they don't have collaboration meetings or staff meetings. So we utilize that time for our site administration meetings, and we've yet to get out of here. I think last Thursday night I left after 8 o'clock. Our meetings are supposed to be over at 6:30, but they're yet to be over before 7. So they're long meetings going over lots of different items and informational pieces, but they're great opportunities for us to start to shape my expectations for site administration, give them some time to dialogue and collect feedback and input from them. I also attended the Cal Group advisory meeting. I was invited to be on an advisory group for the California gang reduction prevention programs. And this is, most of the people that were there were from the nonprofit field, along with Natividad, who is very instrumental in this grant. It's a multi-million-dollar grant that the city has received to collaborate with different entities around our city, and in the hopes of reducing gang violence. And it was a wonderful opportunity because I got to hear about social services that through nonprofits that I was not familiar with. And I'm thinking that Cheryl Kameny probably knows all these resources, but certainly a lot of great resources out there available for our families that are in crises. So that was a wonderful experience.
Thank you. Thank you. To my left, Mr. Hoffman.
Yes, we just got our CNC, or our, not CSCA, School Boards Association newsletter, and I'm not happy to say that we're still 49th in class size, and we rank right at the bottom in funding per child. And anytime you want to write your legislators, feel free. We need all the help we can get, and if we had better funding, we would be able to help our children better. They have to compete against the rest of our states in our country, and they just don't have the resources that the other kids do. So keep at it. Keep writing.
Postcards or regular?
Anything.
Just email it. I want to let you know that Hardin Middle School in the Salinas Union High School District has invited me to attend the next step to higher education. This is Cameron Elementary School and El Gavilan. I'm very proud of both of them. Both the schools, the principal, their staff underneath, which is not only classified employees, but also the teachers and all the support staff that's in there also. Again, both these schools will be attending How to Be a Seventh Grader at the high school. And those are the two schools that I represent on the books, but at the same time, we want speakers. We're trying to get a career day going for them eventually when they first come back to the 7th grade. So again, that transition from the 6th to the 7th grade is very critical, as well as it's fun because it's a new environment and you got to wear a uniform. At Hardin School, it's black and white uniform that everybody wears. And when I went there to visit and talk to the principal and some of the counselors and classified employees at the front line, we had a chance to, I wasn't wearing black and white, I was wearing blue. and they asked me, where did you graduate from? I said, I graduated from North Salinas High School when it used to be the Mighty Vikings. Now they just call themselves the Vikings. But I just wanted to let my colleagues know that, let the public know that we are transitioning in different ways to the 7th grade level. Eventually, our 6th graders will be going to the 7th, like Washington, El Sosal, Hardin, and we have them going and rolling again and again. So this is our future employees, our future scientists, gifted kids that are in there. At the same time, the disabled youngsters in there will be taken care of. And I will be monitoring that too. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ish.
I had the opportunity, because I had heard so much about Saturday school, to drop in at Monterey Park this last Saturday and visit their Saturday school. And I was, if I were a student, I would want to be there too. They made it a lot of fun. The teachers that were doing the Saturday school had lots of great activities that they had planned. They have a nice schedule. I don't know how many of you are familiar with what goes on at Saturday school, but there is math and language arts reinforcement that's done through lots of fun activities. And then there is usually some kind of an art project, and then PE, they do play works. This was at Monterey Park School. So it was fun, and I can see why they are able to recapture so many students, because like I said, I want to be there too. And then I had the opportunity to go to University Park School and see their finals for the spelling bee. And I have watched the National Scripps Spelling Bee on ESPN before and had arguments with members of my family over why does it belong on ESPN as like a competition. I can tell you, to have an auditorium full of 4th and 5th graders, that was the age group that I saw, who were so highly engaged in cheering on their classmates was just amazing. But the most fun was to watch the teachers who had their students up there, who were trying to be very politically correct and not, and want everyone to win fairly, but when their student got the right spelling word, they were like, yes, and, and then they'd have to sit down, and they were standing up and cheering, and it was just wonderful. So those were two of the activities that I had a chance to sit in on.
I still have trouble spelling maintenance.
They had some hard words. They were great spellers.
Mr. Estrada.
Muy buenas tardes a todos. Good evening. I don't have much to say as far as this meeting, but I see some people in the audience that I think are just some amazing, outstanding people who are wonderful for education. Mr. Al Velasquez, I haven't seen him in a long time. We go way back. Sally Pruneda, very nice to see you tonight. And these are individuals that I've known for about 30 years. And I'd like to ask Mr. Velasquez, let's bring back the Baranda Jamboree. That's good.
Thank you. Let's see. I had occasion to go to a luncheon. It was a gathering of a lot of the Hispanic community leaders in Monterey County, and there was a man from the city of Salinas who was speaking on behalf of the Community Alliance for Safety and Peace. And he was talking about a lot of the good things that are happening in our community to combat youth violence, gangs, that type of thing. And lo and behold, he mentions PBIS is one of the things that's going right in our community. So I wanted to say I was very proud to hear that, and I'm so glad that we're championing that in our community. Okay, so do we have replies to previous concerns? Okay, then we're going to go to our public comment. Anyone who wishes to address the board about things that are not on the agenda? Good evening.
Hi.
Please state your name.
Sure. Janet Sparks at El Gablan School. I'm also on the PIT committee. A couple months ago, when they introduced the possible of adoption versus the units of study, I went back to my school site and was like, oh my gosh, this units of study, it's crazy. I don't think we can do it. And then we had another PIC meeting, and I was listening to the presentation by this woman named Connie, and I turned to my principal and said, you know what, I don't know enough about this. And we were very fortunate that my principal made arrangements that 6 of us at El Gavilan School was able to watch North Monterey County in one of their units of study work sessions. I got to sit with the third grade team and watch them start their planning of the 3rd unit, as well as I got to watch a 5th grade who just completed their 4th unit, sitting with the consultant, and she going through their work with a fine-tooth comb, making sure everything was aligned up, the standards, and giving them suggestions from there. I was totally amazed by the amount of work that those teachers were doing and how complete those units were at the end of their sessions. So El Gavilan School is presenting to the PIT committee on April 9th about what we saw and our findings, and I'd like to welcome the board to come. Also on March 2nd, Connie, who is the consultant, will also be putting on an all-day session for teachers who are very interested. So I'd like to invite you to come to our PIC meeting April 9th. Thank you.
March 2nd.
March 2nd. March 2nd is our PIC meeting. April 9th is the meeting with Connie on a Saturday. The meeting on April 9th, not sure. The meeting on April 9th?
It's, I don't know.
I don't know if that's called, we got a month.
But March 2nd.
March 2nd is here.
Oh, yeah, not El Gavilan.
Yes, it's here. It's the regular PIC meeting. We'll be doing a presentation.
3:30 to 5.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
One, really? Anyone else? Okay. Only one? Okay, we're gonna move on to the consent agenda then. Anything anyone want to pull or change? Okay, then do I have a motion to approve the consent items?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the consent items. All in favor? Say aye.
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 All opposed? Okay, 5-0. We're going to move on to information about curriculum, dual immersion.
So President Kim, tonight I would like to have Ron Dillinger and what do you think about the bill? Okay. They're going to be giving us an overview of our dual immersion programs and our district. Thank you.
Superintendent Martinez, distinguished members of our board, and welcome to our board meeting. Thank you for the opportunity to come and to share with you information about our dual immersion program here in our district. My name is Ron Dillinger. I'm the principal on special assignment for curriculum and instruction. And with me here today we have Claudia Morales, who's the program manager for bilingual and English learner programs and curriculum support. And so, we have this presentation this evening. We were asked to share just some basic information about the dual immersion program, answer the questions that you might have about the program. And Mrs. Morales is really essential for us to do that. She has been giving informational meetings to parents who have been interested in the dual immersion program. I've been going with her to answer questions that people might have. And so we're excited for this chance to go ahead and share with you these things that are happening in our district. So she's going to share some of the presentation, and I'll get to share some of it as well to let you know what's going on.
Claudia, can you tell us
Thank
your
you.
title?
Again, my name is Claudia Morales. I am the program manager for bilingual programs, English learners, and curriculum support. I'm going to go as quick as possible with the slides, but so let's get started with dual immersion. So the programs have been around for many years. Some of them date back to the early 60s in Florida. Dual immersion programs began in California roughly around the 1980s in some of our public school districts. The program exists all around across the U.S. and in other countries. In fact, there are some states that are better known than California for other DI programs. Some include Utah, Maryland, Texas, Idaho. Many countries in the world already teach more than one language daily. Here at Salinas City Elementary School District, we have 4 schools implementing the program. We have Los Padres in its 15th year of the program, Aranda Meadows in its 9th year of the program, Lincoln in its 5th year of the program, and then Veranda Dual Immersion Academy of Salinas in its very first year. What is dual language immersion? The purpose of the program is to develop bilingualism and biliteracy. And then the way that this works is that the target language, in our case Spanish, is used for at least 50% of the day. It could be more. And then English is used at least 10% of the day. It also incorporates English dominant children with Spanish dominant students. Instruction takes place in both languages at designated language times, where the teacher does not switch back and forth between both languages. Our program follows the 90-10 model. The 90-10 model represents the percentages of instructional time spent in each language. In the first years of the program, we predominantly instruct in Spanish. As students progress through the grade levels, they will eventually be learning half their day in English and half their day in Spanish. There are 3 main goals to our program. They are bilingualism and biliteracy, academic achievement, and cross-cultural competence. The students who participate in our program students who participate in our program are placed on the pathway to potentially receive the seal of biliteracy that is awarded by the California State Department of Education. There are many benefits to the program. Of course, the program's main goal is to develop bilingualism and biliteracy again. But there are other advantages as well that may not be initially anticipated. As you study and learn another language, there comes a greater opportunity of appreciation and understanding for other languages and other cultures. Being bilingual can give students an advantage as adults when they are ready to enter the workforce. We can see how much smaller the world is getting around us. Not only are there more and more much of the world coming to our community, but with technological advances in business and on social media and in schools, we often communicate with people from around the world. What an advantage our students participating in dual immersion can have in the future for employment and for further education. What's really important as well is to note that English learners who participate in dual immersion programs have a much lower high school dropout rate and have much greater desire to continue their education after high school. And then my partner will continue from here.
You know, I know that this slide says why it works. I think the most important thing to mention about why it works is because we have dedicated, fantastic teachers and administrators, people like Mary Pritchard, who for years have helped to pull along the program, our former superintendent, Dr. Lusa, who helped to make sure that the program is well established in our school district. I think that's the number one reason why it works in our school district, because of those individuals and the hard work that they do. But as you can see, the dual immersion program is a program that's beneficial to all students. It does not take away, it's additive. In other words, it adds a second language to most families without removing the home language that students have. As we know, as you learn, as many of us who are second language learners who are bilingual, you know that knowing a second language helps to facilitate the learning of the first. There's also a cross-transfer. Both languages, of course, are enriched by the bilingualism. And there's a lot of research that suggests that there are cognitive advantages of bilingual proficiency as well. More creative thinking, greater mental flexibility, ability to think more abstractly, and superior concept formation. I was reading a study recently that talked about people who have Alzheimer's, the onset of Alzheimer's, that they are able to offset some of that by learning a second language. So benefits that you have to different things. The classes are designed, or the intention, ideally, is that the classes have 50% Spanish speakers and 50% predominant Spanish speakers and 50% predominant English speakers. Ideally, we'd love to have a third. Primarily English, primarily Spanish, and ones who are kind of in between. In all honesty, right now, not all the classes in our district are comprised that way. That's our goal. We're still working toward making it that way, and we're trying to put some things in place to make those classes have those great examples. As you can see from this photo right here, one of the main points is that as you're having these conversations and these lessons, that there's academic engagement in conversations in both languages. They learn the academic vocabulary for both of them. So up here it talks about the essential characteristics of being successful with the program. The most important thing is that we try to have fidelity to the program model and to the design. That both languages are equally important in the classroom, and that of course we have well-engaged, quality personnel who help to implement the program, and it's a positive environment for all students. That's just not true in the bilingual dual immersion classes, but in all of our classrooms. You just talked about the positive behavior instruction supports. That's important in all classrooms that we have. And a part of the dual immersion program also is that there are multicultural instruction and different activities there as well. And of course, no school program can be successful without the support of home and school and continuing that collaboration. As you know, one of the goals in our LCAP is parent communication and engagement. In the dual immersion program, there's an expectation that parents are involved with helping our students with the dual immersion program. You can see that it's critical for success of students in all programs that we have. Parents are expected to participate in meetings that we have, to volunteer in class and other school events. We try to give them other opportunities to interact and be trained as well. And of course, as you know, all of these things result in positive outcomes for students, helping them to feel good about school and feel really good about themselves. This next portion that I want to show you is just some of the data really quickly. You have some more detail that's there in your board packet. I'd be happy to meet with you and to talk a little bit more about it and about some of the research behind the dual immersion programs. But just in a nutshell, if you're taking a look at this, we want to look at the light blue with the blue dotted line, the one that says two-way bilingual education. That's the dual immersion classes. Thomas and Collier did studies, and this is back in 2000, but there have been subsequent studies that have shown the same thing. You can see at the beginning that if you invest in the bilingual program, in the bilingual dual immersion program, that at the beginning, just without saying, it's a very cognitively demanding thing that we're asking students to do. But as you're patient and you stick with it, you can see that as time goes by, they exceed the achievement of the students in the other groups. And then these are just some more of those studies, and these were conducted between 2000 and 2014. You can see that the ones who are developing biliteracy, both groups of students were successful in tests in reading and writing in both languages. By the time the English speakers began English reading in the third grade, they performed at grade level and at least as high as English speakers instructed only in English. At the beginning, as you saw in that graph just a second ago, initially, they do perform, not for every student, but generally, below their English-only peers. But as they stick with it, again, they surpass those students. Go to the next slide. As far as academic content, again, the research results show that they score at least on par with their peers in mathematics achievement, and the math achievement was highly related across the two languages. And in social studies and science achievement also were average to high for the English and Spanish speakers. That's not to say that always the students in dual immersion outperform English-only students, but they do generally just as well, if not better. Of course, the other benefits as well that Ms. Morales was talking about, the multicultural competency that comes out of this, that there's high level of self-esteem that comes, more competence and motivation for you, and that they have positive multicultural competencies and expectations. There's often a desire to go visit other countries, to become involved in your community, do many other things as well. So that's just our dual immersion program in a nutshell. Are there any questions that you have? Of course, anybody who has any more questions, I'd be happy to answer them by email and other information. Mr. Strada.
You know, looking at this presentation is like looking at a traditional bilingual education program. I really don't see much difference in the concepts and the outcomes and the benefits. So I'd like to make a statement and maybe have you address the statement. Dual language immersion is very limited. It's limited. And traditional bilingual education can encompass a lot more of our student population, if in fact we decide to implement it. Can you comment on it?
I will. You know, I think that the big difference between dual immersion and other traditional bilingual programs is the emphasis of the program. I think in our district we have the SCESD structured English immersion classes, whose primary function is to teach English in the classroom. We have our alternative programs, like the early exit programs that we have in our district at some of the schools. The primary function of that program is to teach English. Again, it's to help students transition from Spanish to English. We also have our Language Development Center, again, whose purpose is to help students transition from their language to their home language to English and be successful in schools. The goal of the dual immersion classes is to have students leave the program being biliterate. And again, it's a very cognitively challenging thing that we're asking students to do. But the students who participate in it, and we have several families, several parents here tonight who have students in the bilingual dual immersion program, the students come out with a lot of really great benefits regarding biliteracy and biculturalism that will benefit them in a number of ways.
Now, in Salinas City, when we talk dual language immersion, are we talking about a select group of kids? Or you're more, what I'm saying is you're more motivated kids, you're from more motivated homes, from more affluent homes, from more stable homes. Are we talking about that type of child? Because what I'm saying is that type of child is going to produce anywhere you put it. It's the other child that would be in a bilingual program, in a traditional bilingual program, that doesn't have usually this background and all these benefits.
I think that you're making a statement that is an awfully broad statement about the students from the dual immersion classes. When Mrs. Morales showed us a few minutes ago, there are 4 schools in our district who have the dual immersion program. The program that's been going the longest is at Los Padres. They also have at Lincoln, they also have at Baranda Meadows. There are a wide variety of different families that participate in those programs. And to say that every student is equally successful, of course not. That's not true in any program that you have. But generally speaking, you can understand with high expectations and with a lot of motivation. Does it take motivated families to help students to be successful in a dual language program? Yes. But I'd also contend that's important for any student, any program at school, to have families who are supportive. And I don't think that has very much to do with how affluent your family is or how much your family earns. I think that has to do with your commitment to helping your child be successful in education.
Well, I would dispute that, but not that. Once again, by traditional bilingual education programs, see, I'm of the opinion that English language learners, even in a traditional bilingual program, will more often than not outperform English learners in your default programs like English only and SCI.
Oh, sure. You know, we also know that the students who go through our SCI classrooms with ELD, that those students who are reclassified, you're right, they outperform their English-only peers very often. Those are some of our brightest, best-performing students, and those are students who never participated in the dual immersion program. I think that one of the great things about the program in our district is it's offering an opportunity to anyone who wants to participate in a program like this. Other students or other families that choose not to participate in dual immersion, they still, of course, have the opportunity to participate in our district's other programs, like an SCI classroom with ELD support that happens every day, or a language development center type class if they're newcomers. So we have other programs as well that we try to offer students. Mr. Stroud, I'd love to be able to talk to you about your ideas some more if you'd like to do it.
Yeah, thank you.
Another important factor that I felt in my experience throughout my career with dual immersion classrooms is the ability for the program to test their students both in English and in Spanish. So when you look at an SCI classroom, kids are traditionally just tested in English, so they're looking at the gains towards their English proficiency, not just as based on the self, but based on our summative assessment. And that happens with alternative programs also. We have some resources, of course, that we can go with the assessment to measure growth over time, but traditionally, dual immersion programs have, the research is cited because they are able to truly gather data around the proficiency, the acquisition of the second language, which in our case, if they're English-only speaking students, how those are progressing in Spanish, and then how our Spanish students are progressing in English. So that's one of the stronger findings that I find in the research, and the difference, I think, between the programs that I find that is extremely important when you're measuring those gains. And districts where I've been with the alternative programs have been very weak on that end in terms of really being able to get a true assessment in Spanish to continue measuring those gains. It's just not as well cemented in place as it is in a dual immersion program. So, thank you. And I was just going to ask.
I have some questions. I'm sorry. I have a couple of questions. Regarding that, the seal of biliteracy, you said it gets our kids ready to be on track to attain that seal of biliteracy. When is that seal given? At what age or what grade level are you able to get that seal?
So that's something that you can receive when you graduate from high school. But I believe, Ms. Morales, you might know something about something earlier than that.
So if the children are ready as early as freshman year, if the children take the advanced placement Spanish exam and pass it, then they've proven their proficiency and competence in Spanish, and that fulfills that foreign language or the foreign language requirement for the high schools, and so then they get a seal or an addition to their diploma that says that they're proficient in a different language.
So it's based on the AP test that students would
It's
take?
It's based on various criteria.
Thank you for clarifying.
There's a GPA requirement, there is the A through G requirements, there is the advanced placement on the foreign language piece. There's multiple criteria that has to be met and is given to the students on their diploma. It's a graduation piece, and it's a newly adopted kind of a prize, to our bilingual students to really earn the seal of biliteracy. It's wonderful, and we're very, very fortunate that our state adopted this. It was adopted by a few districts probably in the last 7 or 8 years, and now it's adopted by the state. So all of our students at every high school have the opportunity to earn this, but there is criterion.
Okay, and then with that, have we started an articulation with the high school districts so they know we've got this group of kids coming up who are on track to go for this seal of biliteracy? Are they ready for our kids? I mean, I'm just curious about.
I'm not sure that we can fully answer that question. Have we attempted to communicate with them? Yes. I know Mrs. Pritchard last year was communicating with them often. We had students come, or students, administrators and teachers come to Lincoln, where I was the principal. We spent an entire day with them, answering their questions, talking to them about the program that we had, helping them to understand the students who are already coming from other schools, as well as our schools that would be coming. And I know that they have already made some changes to the program based on that. I don't know what else they have planned in the future.
Okay, so we really, right now then the answer is no, there is nothing there today.
We have,
we
have done our best to articulate with them, and we are still happy to do that and continue to do so.
Okay, so I guess it's gonna take our parents knocking down the doors there, demanding that they fulfill this, possibly. Possibly, I'm just thinking out loud. Okay, so that's my one thing. My next question was, I have a lot of questions, but my next question was the balance in the classroom composition. You made a comment that we are attempting to, you know, to have that 50-50 or the 30-30-30, which is ideal. And then you said, but not all of our schools are there. Are some of our schools there, or?
They're definitely, Mrs. Pritchard tried very hard, I think, to balance his classes last year.
Okay.
And it really depends on who you have in the neighborhood.
Okay.
You have siblings who are coming into the school, who wants to transfer into the school. The transfers you can work with. Because with those students, you can try to apply them to the school and to the classroom, help to balance the classes. But you work with who already lives in the area.
Okay, and has the experience been that it's hard to find, I know not at Lincoln, and I know not at Baranda Dual Immersion Academy, but at, say, Los Padres and Baranda Meadows, has the experience been that a lot of English-only families don't want their children in there, or a lot of Spanish-only families don't? I mean, I don't know, when you say that, it seems like you ought to be able to find kids in any neighborhood that would fulfill those two groups, especially in Los Padres and Baranda Meadows. So is there something other than just the makeup of the neighborhood that might preclude them?
Well, and that takes a lot of us also going out and advertising the program to people.
Okay.
That's why we've been so diligent this year in offering multiple opportunities. Ms. Morales has, I don't know, how many have you done? 7 or 8 at least, informational meetings for parents to share information about the programs. I know principals of the schools have been sharing information with their families about it. Every enrollment form, registration form in our district also comes with a dual immersion application with information about the program on it, and asking them to attend another informational meeting that we have. And so I think that that's a little bit of it. But you mentioned schools like Lincoln. Lincoln has the issue of not having often enough Spanish, primarily Spanish examples for the classroom. And so I think it just depends on the neighborhood and the school. But we're trying our best to make sure that those classes are closer to that ideal balance.
Okay.
But despite that, we still have really successful classes.
Okay, and I know, you can see that. Now, I know that the data that you were showing, the research data from that one report, which was taken in 2000, you know, we have a school like Los Padres, who has been a dual immersion school for 15 years, and then Baranda for 9 years. Do we have data that we can look at from those classrooms to compare with, say, schools like Sherwood or other schools that use a primarily bilingual program, or ELD or other methods? Do we have a way of looking at that past data to see if our experiences are the same as this research shows, or?
You know, there's definitely more data that we can collect to help us with that. But we have information like we give the local benchmarks, and we can compare the benchmarks that were given in Spanish with those that were given in English, and we can see the growth between those two sets. And if you like, I can pull some of that up if that's helpful to you.
Well, you don't have to do it right now, but I would love to see that. I'm a real
Sure, I'd be
data
happy to sit down with
so.
you and look at that.
Yeah, okay. Then, sorry guys, I have a couple more questions, and this has to do with the